And I think we have both presenters here and we have, let's see, we have 4 board members here. Wait, do we? No, just 3. Okay. But 4 is our new quorum for right now, as I learned from Miss Chandra Somerville and Kyle Patterson.
So we just have to wait for one more person.
Just one more. I mean, this is study session, so if you don't want to wait too long, we could just get it rolling without calling to order, but I don't think it'll be too long before another joins. I know there is one board member who will not be able to join this evening, which is Mrs. Palencia.
Okay.
She was going to try to join maybe by phone, but we'll see. How is everybody tonight?
That's a
Trying
little-
to stay warm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here at the Shields Carter room and I didn't see anybody outside, but I'll go check when it's public participation to see if there's anybody here. And here comes the 4th board member. And then Stephanie is also at Brookings with me.
Okay.
She's my bodyguard. It's working out. It's great.
That's good.
All right. So you have a quorum now, Joe.
Okay. We'll go ahead and call to order.
Matt Hausman,
Here.
Daphne Maurer, Elaine
Yes.
Palencia, Kyle Patterson, Jane Sprandel,
Here.
John Paul Joachim, Joe Omosagie.
Yeah. Move to approve the agenda.
Really quick question about the agenda. Lynn, with the, since we have a quorum tonight, can we take care of the closed items or does that have to happen at the official meeting?
Yeah, I think it has to be at a meeting, but I also, it would be, I guess, adding it to the agenda. I don't know, like, that's a really good question. Stephanie? do
No, you can't do that.
Okay.
This
So,
is a study session and you can't do any, you can't have any business at it, for one thing.
okay,
Okay.
And you can't, that would be a tricky thing to add on. Yeah, you can't do that.
Okay, I was just curious as far as taking care of it while we had a
I
quorum.
know, that would be great. And I am so sorry that I didn't let you take care of it last week, because you could have, but we put it on the agenda for the 23rd and it's fairly routine. So thank you for asking.
Okay, well, in that case, I move to approve the agenda.
A second.
I will second. Okay.
Thank you.
Matt Hausman,
Yes.
Kyle Patterson, Jane Sprandel,
Yes.
John Paul Joachim, Joe Omosagie.
Yes.
This, I don't know if you can hear me. This is Daphne Maurer. I'm here.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah, we heard. Well, thanks. Citizen participation. Anybody have anything to say before we get into the meeting?
And Joe, there's nobody here. I can go check out in the hallway, but I don't think they would be waiting out there, but I'll go look.
Okay.
So
any-
I'm gonna put
anybody on
the,
Zoom?
I'm gonna put the board packet into the chat. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay,
But-
there it is.
So any individuals want to participate or have anything to say before we get started? Okay, just my comments would be, in the Champaign schools, just looking, when school's not in session, our children lose out, and I support the teachers, and we have a district that we have to work together. So hopefully they figure it out. Let's move into the study session. So we have Champaign Healthcare Consumers. Do the first presentation. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. I think, so I'm not sure. I think Lynn was going to help me with sharing my screen for the PowerPoint presentation. Is that right?
You should be able to.
Okay. So I go to share screen. Sorry, Al. Okay.
You did it. Yay.
Yay. Okay. Thanks for the support. Let me move it to slideshow. Okay. So y'all can see that okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and get going. And I know you have this in your packet, so I will, I'll probably, gloss over some of the slides in there that are a little bit more dense or something. The presentation intends to cover what disability is as a benefit and the need for disability application services in our community, our program made possible thanks to y'all and your funding, and program updates. So what is disability as a benefit? And I apologize if many of you already know this, but it's basically, it refers to an income support program that provides beneficiaries with monthly income, and it's made available by the state and federal governments. SSDI is Social Security Disability Income, and that is available to people who have worked and paid taxes into the system, and they have to have worked a certain number of quarters in order to be able to draw SSDI if they become disabled. It's basically, in a way, a form of early retirement when you can no longer work. SSI, on the other hand, is a means-tested program for low or no income individuals, and it's a partnership between the federal and state government. And the benefit amount in 2022 is $841. So if you know anybody who tells you that they are living on SSI, that is what they get every month. It's a pittance. Disability is granted when an individual can successfully demonstrate that their health conditions prevent them from engaging in what's called substantial gainful activity employment. This means that because of their disabling conditions, they cannot earn enough to live on. In this year, for 2022, SGA, substantial gainful activity, for non-blind individuals is $1,350 per month. So if somebody is disabled and earns less than that amount, they should consider applying for disability. But notice that even though it's based on SGA, SSI does not even pay SGA. So, that's a contradiction there. When somebody qualifies for disability, whether it's SSDI or SSI, and people can qualify for both sometimes, they also become eligible for many more benefits and resources on the basis of having been officially deemed disabled. So benefits can include subsidized housing, LIHEAP, free phones, free and reduced cost of transportation, tax breaks on home property taxes, and a whole host of things like that. Therefore, qualifying for disability can lead to even more benefits and more affordable living for a person. Now, I wanted to talk about, and I'm happy to answer questions, afterwards or along the way, whatever suits you. I wanted to talk about the need for disability application services in our community. And, the first thing that I wanted to mention is that applying for disability is just notoriously difficult. It is time consuming. It is tedious. Attention to detail and the ability to respond in a timely manner is crucial. So opening the mail as soon as you get it and reading letters that are hard to understand so that you understand the next steps is really important. And the people who are most in need of disability benefits are often the people who are really the least able to navigate this complex and tedious application system. Consistent and ongoing medical documentation is also essential, and technological capacity is very helpful. One of the problems with disability is somebody might have a condition that they know is disabling, but if they don't have medical documentation, let's say, for example, that somebody has MS and it's severe enough that it has disabled or caused them to be disabled, if they don't regularly go to the doctor and document the fact that they still have MS, Social Security will treat them as if they've been cured and they don't have MS if you don't have recent medical documentation, even though we know that, you know, MS doesn't really work that way. So having access to healthcare is really super important. Applying for disability can take months or even years, especially in Illinois. If you Google how long does it take to get disability in the state of Illinois, you'll find an answer that says, oh, it can take 2 to 3 months. That's just for the initial application. But the fact of the matter is that in Illinois, the initial disability application denial rate is 71%. So that means that less than 30% of people who apply get approved within those 2 to 3 months that the state of Illinois talks about. If one's application is denied, one can file appeals, but sometimes this process can take years. Having a disabling condition or conditions is not enough. It's not enough to just medically document the conditions. One must also be able to demonstrate how the conditions impact a person's ability to function in activities of daily living, as well as their ability to work to earn enough to meet SGA. So people need help knowing about and applying for disability. Attorneys do not help with the initial applications. However, they can assist with appeals, you know, later down the road, and then they are compensated through when the client is approved and they get a lump sum payment. However, not all attorneys will take the same case. And so a lot of times people are spinning their wheels and losing time on the appeal and missing out on appeal and having to reapply. It's really a complex system. So until now, and on a limited basis, Champaign County Healthcare Consumers is the only organization in Champaign County to provide disability application assistance services just to the community at large. There are other organizations that do assist with disability applications, but a lot of times they are a healthcare provider that works with their patients. Cunningham Township assists people, but again, it's limited to the residents of Cunningham Township. So Healthcare Consumers, and hopefully we can build this out over time, is the one organization where somebody can come and they're not affiliated with anything and we will work with them. So the need for disability application services, you know, just continuing with that, research shows that people who have advocates helping them with disability applications are far more likely to be approved for benefits. The statistics show that this is a huge advantage if you can have an advocate work with you. People who are homeless are more likely also to have qualifying disabling conditions because they are more likely to have traumatic brain injuries or other kinds of conditions, but then also those conditions can make, and of course homelessness can make applying for disability incredibly difficult. People who have been incarcerated, especially for a long time, are also more likely to have qualifying disabling conditions, even if they didn't have them when they came in. Prison will wreck people's bodies and minds, and so people often come out with disabling conditions. Medical providers often cannot and do not provide documentation on how the disabling condition limits the person's ability to function. But this documentation and the ability to articulate it is crucial for a successful application. And I'll give you just one example without getting into details. But for example, I was working with a gentleman who had issues from pain, back pain, obesity, and so on. And one of the questions in one of the forms that you get after you initially apply for disability is, it asks about your activities of daily living and if you're able to use the bathroom, you know, and things like that. Most people will just answer yes, yes, yes. Are you able to feed yourself? Yes, yes, yes. But the distinction comes into finding out if things are different than they used to be. So you can still feed yourself, but are you cooking, or are you just like microwaving things and fixing things that are super easy to fix because you can't stand in the kitchen for more than 5 minutes? Those are the kinds of things that have to get articulated. And even things about like using the bathroom. The gentleman I worked with, you know, their response was going to be to answer yes, he can still do that. But I had to ask, you know, who actually helps you clean up? Can you do that yourself, or do you need help? Oh no, I need to call my wife in. Those are the kinds of things that have to be articulated. And working with clients is by necessity, intimacy becomes important. People have to be able to trust you, and you have to be able to ask those kinds of questions in, you know, in a way that's respectful and that they understand is for the purpose of helping them secure their disability status. Champaign County residents are under-enrolled in SSI and SSDI. We can just see that all over the place. There are people living on other people's couches and, you know, suffering because they just don't have the means to do the application. We think that there are many county residents who are functionally disabled but have not accessed the benefits for which they might qualify. And not only do the individuals need this benefit, but getting people qualified will also benefit the community and help reduce strain on medical and social services. Having a little bit of money and having some means goes a long ways towards helping stabilize people. Okay,
Claudia?
so yes, sir.
Can I jump in if there's a couple of questions on this section that background to kind of help, if you wouldn't mind. One, I was curious in the denial rate. What's kind of the rationale? Is a lot of it this stuff about not articulate, what we were just mentioning about not really articulating, or is it stuff like not bureaucratic, but like technical errors that they make when they fill out the application? What kind of is driving that high denial rate?
I'm not entirely sure, because Illinois is notoriously bad. I've had clients in the past who moved to Arkansas and got approved in less than 3 months. So I'm not really sure if it has to do with the standards for the medical examiners. But yes, a lot of times the cases that I have looked at, either the person doesn't have enough medical documentation, or they might have a constellation of conditions that together combine to create a disabling situation, but where independently none of those conditions rises to the level of qualifying for disability. And therefore, the ability, as you're asking, the ability to articulate exactly how they're impacted by those can make the difference. There are sometimes bureaucratic issues, you know, or I'm not really sure why Illinois is so bad, but Illinois is really bad. I had a case of an individual who had a condition that it was a rare condition, and just by having this condition should have been approved immediately. His case languished and languished, and we filed appeals. And finally, when, you know, I ended up writing a letter, sending it on, nothing happened. Finally, I called the caseworker, and I asked her if she knew that he had that condition, and that condition should automatically qualify him for an expedited disability determination. And she was like, oh my gosh, no, I didn't see that. And so she had to, you know, go through her mail. Those workers are just overwhelmed, and careful attention to detail doesn't always happen. So in answer to your question, I don't actually know what the problem is, but it can be any number of things.
And then the kind of a follow-up, which might kind of go dovetail with this, is when you say that Champaign County residents are under-enrolled, So I guess one, because you mentioned somebody went to, I believe you said Arkansas. So one, is that just statewide we're also under enrolled? And then second, as part of that, then is Champaign County different from surrounding counties?
You know, I'm not familiar with surrounding counties, but I would guess that the entire state of Illinois is under enrolled, because I think that these services are hard to get. People are trying on their own. They're getting denied. A lot of people give up after they get denied, or they might wait several years and try again. And so I do suspect that this is a statewide problem. And I just know for sure that in Champaign County, we are under enrolled. Just, you know, just in the course of my daily work life, encountering people, and then I'm sure the townships will tell you that as well.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get this cleared up before we go to the next one.
Sure. Okay, so the next section is focusing actually on our services our program. Why is this not working? Okay, there we go. So our program is new and made possible by you all, the Champaign County Mental Health Board, with County Board ARPA funding, for which we are so grateful. Our program is focused on serving individuals with behavioral health issues and homeless individuals, because of the source of the funding. That's y'all's purview. That's who we are serving. Our services are provided free of charge. Our program is conflict-free, meaning that we serve clients regardless of who their healthcare provider is, right? We're not a healthcare provider that serves just, you know, our patients. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just, you know, and then we are the only organization in the county that makes these services available to community members at large. We feel that we are in an ideal position to provide these services because we can also link clients with healthcare access and resources. So, you know, being able to document their conditions and being able to get care and maintaining that documentation is really important, as well as actually getting the care so that people can be healthier or as healthy as possible. In addition, though, we can also fill in with other needs, like help apply people for food stamps, which is, you know, SNAP or the Link card. We can help them with prescription drug costs, all kinds of other services, case management, and then also working with housing vouchers and helping them work with those other systems as well while they are waiting on their case. Most of our staff are bilingual in English and Spanish. And we also have a staff member trained in SOAR. And SOAR is a methodology for doing applications and getting them approved rapidly, especially for homeless individuals or individuals who cannot always actively participate in their own disability applications. And there it's described what it stands for, but it requires a bit of a working relationship with the Social Security Administration locally. Right now, that is very, very hard during the pandemic times. So we use both elements of the SOAR method as well as just the more traditional method for working with individuals who are applying for disability. We do work with people who are at various stages of the disability application process. So sometimes people come to us because they applied and they got something in the mail and they don't understand what to do next, or they don't know how to do an appeal. Other times we're working with people right from the very beginning. But we work with people through all stages of their application process. Part of our work also involves identifying what kind of medical documentation is needed for the client's case and helping them access that health care. Our program staff, based on the application for funding that we submitted to y'all, is the funding covers a portion of my time, and I have quite a bit of experience working with disability applications and a pretty good track record on getting them done. My coworker, Paulette Coleman Peoples, she is SOAR trained. I think she's almost on the verge of completing the training, which is very intensive. And she too is experienced with working with disability applications. And we have another coworker, Ashley Buckley, who has some experience, but is also really good with medical documentation and how to draw that out. And then our hope was to hire a full-time disability application services specialist, which we have not been able to do, but I will get to that in a moment. But that's sort of the team that is working on this program. Going into program updates, our goal, and this was anticipating having a full-time specialist on staff, our goal is to serve 20 individuals in this program year. We, and then we talked about how many applications we hope to have approved. But so far at the second quarter, we have submitted 7 new applications. We have 3 pending applications, 2 pending appeals, 1 successful early retirement person. So while I was working with him on his application for disability, I also realized that, like, hey, you can tap into early retirement if you would like, and he sure would like. And so we're working on that, and he'll be able to start drawing early retirement. That's not necessarily easy either. You should be able to go online and apply for your early retirement, but little things can get in the way. And this gentleman has had to spend over 4 hours on the phone on hold talking to Social Security. And when he finally got a hold of them, they said, the problem could be as simple as you use your middle initial one time and then not another time on an application. Now he has to wait until March for an appointment to get all of this cleared up. So these are the kinds of things that people are dealing with. And in the meantime, they have to figure out how to live, how to have money to live. The clients we've served so far have primarily come from Urbana, Champaign, Tolono, and Rantoul, mostly Urbana and Champaign. The staffing update that I wanted to provide is just that we have not been able to hire the specialist, the full-time specialist, although I still hope to do that at not necessarily this fiscal year. The reason we weren't able to is because we're a small organization. The hiring process is on me. I would have to do the search, the hiring, the training, and all that. And unfortunately, the first half of this fiscal year has been one of the hardest times of my life, with my father in home hospice down in Texas and having to travel, and then also a pretty serious illness that I had and was hospitalized. And then also on top of that, we were doing a lot of work during last year with housing homeless individuals who were medically fragile. But also that is where many of our clients came from. And so that was a lot of intensive work, but because of that, we just didn't have the organizational capacity for me to go on and to do the hiring. I am exploring other funding options because I do still want to hire somebody and build out this program. So I just can't hire right now because it wouldn't make sense to hire somebody, get them trained, and that would be 3 or 4 months. And then if there's no funding guarantee, then we would lose them. So anyway, we're hoping to build the program and be able to hire, but we are still doing the work with the staff who we have. And I think we've been doing a pretty good job keeping up with the goals that we had set out. And I think, yeah, that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions or listen to your comments.
So any questions or comments? Claudia?
I just want a quick follow-up. So what's kind of your success rate then? So if it's usually 28.9%, what's your success rate with the applications?
Well, I don't want to brag, but
Okay.
I want you to.
Okay. We have a very high success rate prior to this. Now, a lot of our applications right now are pending or in process, so I can't tell you just yet. But prior to this program, my success rate with the clients that I worked with was pretty close to about 70 or 80%, with a pretty good chunk of those getting approved on the first try. However, this is where I unbrag about our work. However, because we have limited capacity, we were also pretty choosy about who we would work with, because doing these is so time consuming. If I wasn't able to actually do the application for somebody in the past, I would still be available to help guide them and sort of mentor them through their own application if they had the capacity to do it. But so I expect that we will have, as long as we can get the person to have medical access and medical documentation, I expect that we will continue to have a very high success rate.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Thanks.
Lynn?
Lynn, looks like I can't see everybody, so because my
There you
screen
go.
is still being shared, so, but I see that Lynn has her hand up.
I'll go after the board members are done if there's time.
I don't have a question.
Yes.
Even if board members don't have questions, does anybody listening have a question?
I do.
Okay.
Okay. I just saw a news item that in California, applications for disability were like being questioned because there's so many. And so like this is a really different situation from Illinois, where like we're kind of used to the very low approval rate, and the fact that you have to appeal at least twice to get anywhere. This is different. I just thought that was really interesting, because I think there's an estimate of up to a third of people who've survived COVID are experiencing long COVID, which can be like chronic fatigue syndrome or other disabling symptoms. And so this flood of new applications in California could consist of a lot of that. And I'm just wondering if you have had experience yet with applying for disability benefits for people who have long COVID. Is that coming up here?
I haven't had it yet. I haven't had an instance yet where there is somebody with long COVID, but I fully expect that. I fully expect that. And some people may not even fully identify their symptoms yet as long COVID if they're not that bad. But I do think that we will see that. And you're right, it's very it's very similar to like chronic fatigue and other kinds of illnesses like that, or conditions like that. But the other thing that I think could also contribute to increasing applications is also increasing access to healthcare. So as people get greater access to healthcare, then they may be more likely to be submitting the applications because they feel that they have the documentation. I'm not sure what's going on in California, but the other thing that could be going on is sometimes there are organizations and even businesses that spring up that will do the applications. They get paid if the application is successful. They're typically like nonprofits that just focus on that. So that could be what's going on. I'm always a little bit nervous when a state starts looking, or thinking that there might be fraud, because like in the state of Illinois, at one point, some consulting agency was hired and they determined that there was Medicaid fraud in the state of Illinois, and they overreached. And actually the real fraud is not among the people getting Medicaid, but more among like unscrupulous physicians billing Medicaid for like, thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I always get a little bit nervous. But it could also be that, COVID plus just more healthcare access. We also have a population that's aging. Not everybody gets to work until retirement. Right. So some people start having issues even in their 40s, 50s, where they just can't work anymore, but they're too young to tap into that early retirement through Social Security at age 62. But I don't know. Those are guesses about what's going on in California. But I do fully expect to see long COVID, and I do expect that a lot of it will also be behavioral health impacts from long COVID.
This is Daphne Maurer. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Does your organization help provide transportation for people to the examinations if needed at all? And I guess the second part of my question is, did you see any difference if they had to do a telehealth examination with respect to, sorry, the approval or not approval at all?
I'll go backwards. I haven't seen any impact from telehealth. The real impact is just making sure that you're documenting your medical condition, that you're getting proper diagnosis and documenting it. And if you have a good relationship with a physician's office, they might even be willing to fill out some forms that can help with the application. In terms of transportation is a huge issue. We do not provide assistance with transportation. However, we are knowledgeable about the different avenues for transportation. And a lot of times if somebody has like a Medicaid managed care plan, those plans contract with transport services. And so we are often helping people learn how to access the transportation benefit that goes with their health insurance. I think, did that answer your question? Okay.
Yes, thanks so much.
Certainly. And then somebody else had their hand up. I can't see everybody, so I'll trust the chair to call on.
Jenny Paul. Go ahead.
I don't know if I missed it, but so could we refer our clients to your program to get assistance? Or how does that work, the eligibility? Like, how do you?
Yes, yes, you can refer people to us. However, because I have not been able to hire the full-time person yet, okay, we have limited capacity. I'm very honest with people. So like if you contact me and you have a client who needs help, we will try to work with that person at whatever level of capacity we have, but we might have to also say, there's 3 people in front of you that I'm working on with active applications. Here's the deal with the applications. The biggest, hardest part of the application is not the initial application that can be done online. Although what's hard about that is listing all the doctors and all the tests and all that, which is just ridiculous, but you have to do it. That part is hard and tedious, but it can be done. Then what happens after that, they'll get packets in the mail asking them to fill out these huge long forms about their activities of daily living and then their jobs and what they used to do and whether they can still do those things. Those are the parts that take the longest amount of time. And my personal estimate for me is that it takes about 30 hours to work to get that chunk of it done. And sometimes that work is in fits and starts because you have to work closely with the client to do that. And sometimes they fatigue after 45 minutes. So once that chunk of it is done, then the rest is easier. And so if I'm working with 3 clients and I'm getting past that big chunk, then even though I have cases pending, I'll be happy to start working with somebody new. So that's kind of the process. Now, some people, if they are able to, or if they have a family member who's able to assist them, then I can help guide and coach along the way. So it just sort of depends, but I look forward to the day when healthcare consumers can have like 5 or 6 of these disability application specialists, because that's what I think we're going to need, and who can, who we can just keep taking clients as they come, rather than putting people perhaps on a little bit of a waiting list. But if you have somebody, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay.
So what is the qualification for the who helps people with the applications? Is there a base qualification?
So one of the most important qualifications is ability to read and write in English, because we submit applications in English. And then if somebody has a background in healthcare or social work or social services or something where they've dealt with human beings in their daily lives when they're not well, that is really helpful. As an example, in our office, I have a master's degree, I have some background that lends itself to it. My coworker, Paulette Coleman, she is brilliant and really good at working with people and really smart about these applications. And she has a GED, but she has a world of experience and is really, really sharp. Sometimes if things get technical, like I do a lot of medical research, so sometimes I help out with the medical research side of things. One of the things that's really hard is just that the medical profession just doesn't really help with this. That's not their purview. They cannot tell somebody how like that condition limits the person's ability to get in or out of bed, for example. And those are the things that we have to draw out. But when we hire, I will definitely, look for people who have some of those experiences in the background. But most people are not going to have experience doing disability applications. I think it's very teachable with appropriate support.
Are there any other questions?
If not, I just want to say thank you. I told Lynn in an email, Lynn and Leon, that it has been a dream of mine to start a disability application services program. And even though we didn't get off to the start that I wanted because of, my own situation, we're up and running, and I look forward to growing. And I just thank y'all for this opportunity. And I also want to thank all the staff from the Mental Health Board who have been so great to work with and so supportive and helpful. So thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you, Claudia. So the next presentation, presenter is Jenny. So please present. Thank you. Green Housing in Illinois. So go ahead when you're ready.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
It's big enough because usually I have 3 screens going on. I like to pick the right one.
It looks great.
Okay, okay, good. So, okay, so we are Women in Need Recovery, short for WIN Recovery. We were founded, well, it was founded in 2015, but we became a nonprofit 501c3 in 2018. Our name can kind of be really confusing because everybody thinks that recovery is related to substance use disorders, and but really recovery for us is not only recovering from addiction, but recovering from trauma, recovering from all of the things that we have struggled in life, recovering to get our children back. There's so many different things that we're recovering from. And so I always like to start off by telling people that WIN Recovery is so much more than just about addiction and treatment centers. This is Jenny and her daughter. Jenny is she was a participant of the program, and she completed the program. And one of the things that we like to do is we like to rehire our women back through our program, and find a place for them to be able to follow what they want to do, and their passion and dedications that they have. So one of the reasons that I got into this is my own personal story of being a formerly incarcerated recovering addict. When I went into treatment, I was homeless. When I came out of treatment, I was homeless. There was Courage Connection, but I wasn't domestic violence, and I didn't have the children. And so it made it very difficult for me to be able to maintain my mental stability as well as my my recovery stability. And so when I was getting my life back and stuff, I decided that I really wanted to go back to school. I became a social worker, and I wanted to open this house so that there wouldn't be so many other women that had to struggle to find that stable foundation to put their lives back together. So in doing that, I didn't really know that I was going to work with so many individuals that were incarcerated. We just kind of gotten it. I mean, it just kind of fell into the population. My population was a mental illness and treatment, but then before I knew it, I realized that most of those people had been in prison or that they had some type of criminal justice interaction. And so that's when we decided that we would like our population to be female incarcerated individuals. And working with the Pritzker in the governor's office, they were really interested in trying to decrease the population of the women in prison. And so we were really on board on that because 20% of the women that are returning home each year, like there's nowhere for them to go. Like there's just nowhere for them to go. Another thing that is often unknown is that women are more unique than men. A transition house, a halfway house, a recovery house, any type of housing, I truly believe that for women need to become equipped with many more things than I do believe for males. And I can elaborate on that. Like for instance, when a mother gets out of treatment, she is pretty much facing her outpatient, her IOP. She's got a service plan for DCFS. She's got her probation requirements. She's got to go to mental health and make sure that her medication is, is that she is following her medication regimen, that she's going to therapy. And so these are all of the things that women have to do to be able to have their family reunification. And there are some males that have to do that, but for WIN recovery, we knew that it was not going to be as easy as putting a woman in our house for 30 days, go find a job and, bring your check back to us so we can pay our bills. And that's what took a long time for us to get off the ground, is because that was one of the things that I wasn't going to compromise with WIN recovery, was that I wanted it to run on as much funding from donations and grants that I could, so that the women could focus on relearning how to live and put their lives together. So like I said, in 2015, that's when I first started the support of WIN recovery. Another thing that I ran into as I was creating this program is that I found that the LGBTQ2 plus population was not, there weren't many places for them as well. And I say them as if I'm not one, but it's part of my population as well. And I found a lot of discrimination against that population. And so one of the things was I wanted to make sure that WIN recovery was open to every person that is part of that population, including gay men, partly because I have found that gay males have had the same trauma, same struggles, and is extremely discriminated against when it comes to trying to get in men halfway homes or transition homes as well. To the point, at one point, I was housing people in my own home prior to getting WIN recovery. We are peer led, so everyone that works in our home is connected to addiction in some kind of way, trauma in some kind of way, or being involved in the criminal justice system. We also, in our environment that we provide for the women, we make sure that they, not only do they have the case management, we help them with their employment. We help them make sure that all the mandated resources and services that they have to complete are done. We have wraparound services and relationships that we have had with Rosecrans and Carl Addiction and some of the other agencies to help the women get the services that we can't provide for them. I would love to be able to provide everything for them, but that's unrealistic. And so that's where the community comes in. We also do peer facilitated groups, and that's where we do our Beyond Trauma group. We have a parenting group, and our parenting group is focused more on shame and guilt, because we're healing. And so it's about the shame and the guilt of us as mothers not showing up because we're so caught up in our addiction, you know, being out in the streets and being homeless and not knowing how to turn on a utility bill or know how to do an email. These are the things that we do in like our personal finance class, making sure that they know how to do a budget. The women ease into employment. They start off at a part-time, about four to 6 months, and then about 6 months or so, they're going into full-time. We have we have 3 phases of our program. Our first phase is our first step home, which pretty much a lot of what I just discussed. And then we have an independent home. Our independent home, we have a contract and an MOU with the Housing Authority of Champaign County. And if they're doing well in our program, they get to go to the independent home. The minimal stay there is 3 months. If they're able to maintain the stability of their full-time job, going to school full-time, you know, by then women are getting their children back. And so at that time, if they're finishing that phase, the third phase is that they are given a housing voucher from the Housing Authority. And so they get to skip all of the waiting list. And so one of the things that is always seems to be, you know, the problem is making sure that that foundation is strong and that it can be sustainable. And so, you know, the women start off in the program and they're building the strong foundation, but by the end, when recovery in the partnership with Housing Authority, make sure that they have the ability to sustain that foundation. So anyway, sorry. So Jenny, you want to go on this one?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm Jenny and I work operations manager for Win Recovery and also a graduate of the program. Win Recovery's safe housing model that our program is modeled around stems from a new way of life sisterhood alliance for freedom and equality, the Safe Housing Network. The Safe House Network's mission is to advance a national model for wraparound reentry support services that are flexible enough to meet the unique needs of every person, including legal help, mental health treatment, parenting and life skill instruction, substance misuse training, employment assistance, and everything in between. So this is real. The model is proven to have better outcomes than traditional housing programs, and it reduces expenses for taxpayers in the long run. And part of that reason is because of the culture of having peer-led. It's a peer-led organization. So everybody that works for it can be in that woman's shoes. And that's really why it's so successful, is because of the real life experiences. At Win, we provide holistic and individual services to the clients we serve. So here's some of the services we provide, but we're real flexible on really meeting the needs of each woman that comes into our program. It's not a cookie cutter program. However, we are a one-stop shop. So we provide wraparound services, as in legal services. And what that is another program that we have that is our decarceration program. So it's not only for women that, or anybody that identifies it with being a woman coming out of prison. We found that, and I was a part of this program, is that women are on our pretrial services that are facing charges need help to have a voice. And that's where we step in. We go to court with them. We advocate with the public, we talk to their public defenders, the state's attorneys and the judges, and advocate for when to be alternative to incarceration. And our vision for long-term is to decrease the population of women in prison in the state of Illinois by 50% in 3 years. We also do mental health treatment, connect them with services in the community, parenting and life skills, substance misuse treatment, and we help with employment, schooling. We're very trauma informed and gender specific support, and we're big on family reunification. And with family reunification, we go and advocate with the caseworkers or any of the third party places that work with DCFS. I experienced this too. If I didn't have WIN to get my daughter back, when Bethany wasn't with me, they talked to me a lot different than when I had somebody there to advocate for me. So it's children and family services, but what really gets lost is that it's the mother gets no one to advocate for her. And some of the outcomes of our program is increased self-efficiency, improved relationships with family and our community, continued recovery. I think we have on my end of the year report over almost 300 months of combined recovery with our women. So that's exciting. It gives us a voice for the formerly incarcerated women and helps break the stigma and redefine the narrative. And it's a successful reentry program. And I have a little video here about the Safe House Network and with Susan Burton. It's exciting.
She is she's the founder of A New Way of Life, and it gives you a little bit of kind of what our environment is like at WIN
My name
Recovery.
is Susan Burton. I'm founder and president of A New Way of Life Reentry Project. The problem I'm addressing is the mass incarceration of women. Women are the fastest growing segment of the criminal justice system, and 1.9 million women come home each year across the United States. A New Way of Life provides housing, case management, reunification services, job placement, training opportunities. And I'm proposing that we expand A New Way of Life Reentry Project across the entire United States. The project is called SAFE, Sisterhood Alliance for Freedom and Equality. Success will be measured by the number of women that we serve, the number of hugs that we put up, the number of children that are reuniting with their parents, the number of people that get jobs, and the number that do not recidivate. What we have here is a solution to a national crisis that we will reallocate resources back to the community, reduce the prison population, allow our communities and our families to heal. If we're going to end mass incarceration, we must address women, and we especially must address the reentry of Black women. We want to take SAFE all over the nation. This is a solution that is working.
Oh, there. Okay. So yeah, we are a founding member of the Safe House Network. So and Susan was actually, her investor was the one that actually invested in our first home on Lincoln Road that is fully donated to us. And so she was a big part of even us getting started. We opened our first home in 2019. We had a second home. The Housing Authority provided for us in the 2020. We just opened a home in Cook County, suburban area in 2021. And our third home in Champaign will be in 2022, along with another house from the Housing Authority. And so we're really excited because Susan has been my mentor and has really connected me to some great funders I'm glad to say that the pilot started in Champaign and it was successful in Champaign, but I'm happy to say that, you know, we are growing and we will be statewide very, very soon, the way that our little thing is going. So, oh, and then I put the house down because I wanted everybody to see the type of house that we provide the women, the type of things that we provide them. That was something really big for me, is to not just find any kind of house. I wanted to find a house that I would live in. I wanted to furnish it like I would furnish. Where am I? I just went all over the place. I wanted it to be furnished the way that, you know, I would have wanted to be furnished. And, you know, it's kind of like a shock when the women walk in and they see this beautiful home and they're not understanding, like, this is their house. I pull up in the driveway and they're like, oh, this is where you live. And I'm like, no, this is where you live. And the smiles on their face and the acceptance and the love with that brims in this house. It's just, it's an amazing feeling. And that's what I say, that this program, it sounds kind of cheesy, but it runs on love, compassion, and empathy. It really does. And so I'm just thankful for all of the support that you guys have given us. Yes, because I've been wanting your guys' support for a long time. So thank you. So, but here's some other community partners that have been with us from the very beginning as well. And so we're really excited that our women have completed like the Odyssey programs and the YWCA classes that they offer. And so anyway, that's all I have.
That's great. Thank you. It's a way to restore our individual humanity, and I'm glad to be a part of being one of the funders. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, quick question. So first of all, Bethany, nice to see you again. Been a while, back pre-COVID. But question kind of comparison, like what kind of successes, like when you're talking about, say, recidivism or family reunification, whether it WIN itself or the Safe Home program, for those participants versus the general female population that are reentering. Do you have an idea kind of what that comparison is?
Jenny, do you have that? Jenny's our number person.
I don't. I have our numbers. I don't have it compared to traditional. I know we are. We also have a contract with with IDOC, and we're the only in our area. We are the only house for women currently in our district. We have had 5 mothers reunify with their children. I being one of them, and then we have 2 mothers that are working on reunification right now in our program. This year already, we've serviced 30 women in second quarter. And we've had 0 recidivism.
Yeah. So nobody has reoffended out of all of the women that we have served. And that's huge.
Yeah. And like I didn't go to prison because of WIN. And I'm going to advocate for another girl that's looking really great. She was facing, her first offer was 22 years at 85% with no violent offenses, only drug offenses, never in trouble before. And I think we're getting down to a probationable offense with an open plea from the judge who believes in this program. So,
and she gets the kids back.
And she'll get her kids back. So, and she's doing great. She's never had a career, or she's never worked. She grew up in foster homes, lots of trauma. Didn't really know how to be a mom. She came up here. Well, she was working at Texas Roadhouse, and we're like, no, you can't do that with kids. You know, when you get your kids back. She applied at a dental or a orthodontic office, and she got the job. She's their #1 dental assistant. No, never had any training. She She just got a raise. She just texted me earlier. So she's
So.
doing amazing work. Yeah.
We try to encourage them. It was more of, no, that's a job. We're going to get a career.
Career.
We deserve careers today. So let's step back and let's see, what do you really want to do? And let's shoot for that. And that's what she shot for. And it was great. It's great.
Another one
Success
of our women's a recovery coach at Carl.
at Carl. Mhm.
Mhm.
And if they want school, I'm a counselor at Parkland, so that's my other job.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great to hear.
Any other questions or comments?
Did do you have a contract with the PRG group through IDOC?
Yes, we do.
And you accept people who have an SMI diagnosis at all?
I don't
Severely-
know.
Severely mentally ill,
I'm okay.
chronically.
No, we don't, because we are unable to accommodate severe diagnosis. But that's the only reason. If it's a severe one, then we can't. But if it's
Well, in IDOC, even like major depression is considered a severe mental illness. But
Oh.
I didn't know if those people, who are treated well and are in remission, but still are designated SMI because of solely of their diagnosis, if they would qualify.
Well, Daphne, what we do with our IDOC contract is that we have so let me just start over. They realize that we're a program that provides housing. And so they realize that they don't we need the people to want to participate in the program to be able to be successful. And so one of the things is that we are able to have that one-on-one interview with them while they're still incarcerated. And we also get their physical right up on them and their mental. And so what we get to do is we get to evaluate what the prison has wrote up on them on their mental, what the prison wrote up on the physical, and then we get to do the face-to-face with them. And then that way we're able to kind of get a more understanding of maybe what might be going on versus what somebody writes on a piece of paper.
That's wonderful. Do you work with the parole board at all and see any improvement and success with paroling for individuals in custody that are going to be involved with your program?
We don't do that. We only make contact with them once they make contact with us, and they're on contracts. And so they already know when they're going to get paroled out. I've really never had any interaction with the parole board at all. So I think it's a lot different now when it comes to the parole boards.
Sure. Thank you very much. And I admire your resilience and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Appreciate the work that you guys do. And I think it's a great thing. I commend you and keep to it.
Thank you. Okay, how do I stop sharing it?
Yeah, you stopped sharing already.
Yeah, I'm trying to stop sharing. Did I stop?
I stopped you sharing. I went in and did it a little while ago so that y'all could
Oh.
see each other during the discussion.
You're on top of it, Lynn.
Just because it's nice to see who's asking you the questions. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for all of this information. This was a really good study session.
Yes. Got to know when you guys are winning.
Well, we look forward to our next one. Hopefully you'll have more to bring.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any board announcements? Looks like there are no board announcements. So is someone willing to move to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Yes. So guys, have a wonderful week. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Night, thanks.